y'all, it's your girl Kiana and I am back with another video. If you're new here, welcome. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be a complete reaction. This is going to be me giving my perspective on a topic that Jordan Peterson is speaking on. So Jordan Peterson, if you do not know who he is a retired psychologist who now speaks on the differences between men and women and the cultural issues we have. This is involving modern dating. So before I get started, if you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it so you've been notified when I upload new videos, and give this video a thumbs up to support the channel. And throughout this video, if you have any opinions or any thoughts on the topic, go ahead and comment them down below. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Men use the image of female perfection to motivate themselves. And that's exactly right. That's precisely what they do. You see that in the Tom Sawyer story. So Tom Sawyer is about 12 years old, and he's still hanging around with his friends like Huck Finn. And this girl moves across the street, Becky, and she comes out, and he's struck by her for the first time in his life. Something's changed. And the first thing he does is hop up on a picket fence and show off and balance in front of her. And he's saying, well, look at me, look at me. He's like the male bowerbird building something beautiful so the female will approve of it. And it's motivation. You know, and that's something that I think modern women don't really understand about men. They don't understand that, at least to the degree that males are uncorrupted and not bitter because of being rejected, they're doing everything they can to kneel before the eternal image of the feminine and try to make themselves worthy. That's the chivalry story, right? That's what you should encourage in your partner. So out of chaos emerges this first form. It's the feminine form. It's partly the form that represents novelty as such. So and on one hand it's promise, on the other hand it's threat. That you wouldn't believe, and I don't know, because I don't understand the situation with women as well as I understand the situation with men, obviously, being a man.
I want to pause that right there. Peterson brought up a very good point, saying that men have to go out of their way to do the chivalrous thing. They have to go out of their way and kind of like seek the approval of women. And I see that a lot in modern dating, especially, even though I've been off the market for a very long time. I see that with strangers. I see that with people who I'm close to. Men literally have to go out of their way just to get the approval of a woman. They are seen doing things that they wouldn't normally do just so a woman will look at them. And the thing with that is that I've noticed men consider that to be emasculating in a way, just because, you know, men do all these things to make a woman notice them, but at the end of the day, the woman still may not pick that guy just because he's doing these kind gestures or just because he's doing things that would get her attention, but just for that moment. And that's what I've noticed, like the disconnect between men and women. Women actually notice the guys are doing these things, but they don't want the type of guy that will go after her. Women are absolutely okay with a man bowing down to them and at their every beck and call, having a man do everything for them. But when it comes to a man needing a woman in her feminine state, women kind of get distraught. And that's the thing between women that is different than men. Men always go after the woman, and women have this fairy tale dream of she's the princess, the man is going to do everything right to make himself be noticed by her. They don't have the confidence to really, you know, step to a woman. And then when they actually muster up all this courage to even step with a woman, they are already fearing rejection. So you have the woman that says, you know what, I don't want you, no thank you. But to the point of men being motivated by getting a woman's attention, men are naturally hunters and they will go after a woman. They see what they like and they go after that. They hunt them. Women are like prey in a sense. And I don't mean that, you know, as a woman being like a piece of meat. some women actually portray themselves as a piece of meat, and men still go after those type of women because they see the woman as a piece of meat and would treat her as such if she handles herself that way. Men being motivators, they want everything in life, so why not continue to keep going for everything that they want? Why does it have to just stop at the business that they want? Why does it have to stop at the car? Why does it have to stop at the house that they want? They're motivated to get any woman that they want.
But I don't know if women have any idea how paralyzing they are to, especially young men. A very large number of my clinical clients, but also young men I've talked to in general, are absolutely terrified of women because they're terrified of being rejected. And the terror exists in precise proportion to the attraction to the woman, which is a horrible paradoxical situation to be in. It's often why men make such fools of themselves in front of women that they're attracted to. It's because, first of all, they don't see the woman that they're attracted to, because what the hell do they know about her? They don't see her as an individual. They see her as the manifestation of a judgmental ideal. And then it's only in establishing the relationship with the actual woman that they can start differentiating between the judgmental ideal and the actual individual woman. And that also requires a sacrifice.
It's very interesting that he said it requires sacrifice, because men don't oftentimes realize who they're getting in a relationship with. They see this persona on the outside of how a woman may carry herself. And then afterwards, when they actually get into the relationship with the woman, you know, that woman may have portrayed to be one person, you know, this sweet, nice young girl, because she was so pretty and so quiet. But then in the relationship, she may be this manipulative, she may be this stubborn, back-talking girl. She took her mask off because, you know, women have this way about them to play one part and be a type of girl just to get the attention from a guy, and then afterwards, when they get into the relationship, they're a different person. That is a huge sacrifice for men. That's a huge sacrifice for his time, his patience, and his love. You know, men go into relationships with an open mind. They don't go into anything closed-minded because they always want to see different outcomes. They want to be positive in anything that they endeavor in life, right? But then you have the women that scar men because men are optimistic usually, and then they go through a bad situation, like a woman taking off her mask and not really being who she was in the beginning, because that's not who she really was.
Sacrifice is, you never can have an ideal woman. So to have a relationship with any woman, you have to sacrifice the relationship with the ideal woman, and you have to see the individual woman and separate her from the ideal. And that's the same thing that happens to the hero in Sleeping Beauty, right?
That's why it's very important to properly vet when it comes to dating. You have to really get to know the person for who they are, not what they're portraying to be. You have so many people out here playing to be one person, and then they are the complete opposite, and that could ruin somebody's outlook on relationships overall, just because, you know, you come across so many women, even women come across men too, that portray to be this nice guy, and then he's like a womanizer. You know, they do anything to get what they want, and then they do whatever they want to you. And that's the same with how women do, you know. They use what they got to get what they want.
Sees the evil queen, who actually turns into the dragon of chaos, and it's not until he can defeat her that he can establish a relationship with the actual princess. And that's exactly the case. I had one of my clients who ran this men's group, which was quite interesting. One of the things they had the initiates do, which was very intelligent, was to go out and ask 50 women in one day for their phone numbers. Why? Politely, properly, you know. It was a game, but it wasn't a stupid game. And the idea was, get over your fear of rejection. And how do you do that? by encountering it continually and continually and continually, so that you're no longer paralyzed by this. The degree to which the terrible part of the world manifests itself in your life is proportionate to how insufficient you are. And we don't know the full extent of that. If you got your act together completely, maybe all the suffering would disappear from your life. Or at least maybe all the unbearable suffering. And maybe all the suffering, or the unbearable suffering, from the lives of people around you too. And you already know that, because there are people that you'll go to in a crisis that you can rely on, and you know they'll help you. And you wonder what the world would be like if you were like that and everyone else was like that too. We'd have a lot fewer crises. And the ones that we do have would be a lot more manageable. And so when people say, well, why is the world so rife with suffering? One answer to that is because we're not yet what we could be. And at least that's an answer that we have some control over, right? You're not going to negotiate directly with Mother Nature, but you might be able to put yourself together a little bit and see if that works. At least it's under your control. Well, here's the decomposition of the fundamental archetype. The dragon of chaos differentiates, on the one hand, into the feminine. That's the unknown. And the feminine differentiates further into the negative feminine and the positive feminine. The negative feminine is the reason for witch hunts. It's the reason for, you know, there's a whole group online called Men Going Their Own Way, MGTOW. That's a very interesting group to go study. There's lots of them. I don't know how many of them there are, and most of them are older. Many of them are men who've been through a particularly horrifying divorce for one reason or another, and they've had enough of women. So they tell the young men that they're teaching, never have a permanent relationship. Never share your territory with a woman. Never share your possessions. Make sure you never live together, and don't stay with one long enough to enter a common law relationship, because you will be stripped of everything that you have. Male has been manifested in their life only as the negative archetype, and they've got that confused with all women.
You have the men who have come in contact with a woman who has made their life a living hell, has taken everything from them, that painted a picture that she was this perfect woman in a perfect world, and then she ended up being a complete monster toward the end, taking him for everything that he has. And it's really interesting that he brought that up, because it's really a problem in today's society, in today's dating world, that women are portrayed to be the bad guy. It is a big problem with a lot of women, a lot of modern women, with dating, because they don't know how to be a woman anymore. They don't know how to support a man and be a man's helpmate. They don't know how to properly sit in their feminine energy, and we are such on a feminist mindset to where it has corrupted, manipulated, and mind changed so easily, because society plays a big part in that. Society has made women to believe that all things are women, and we can be such boss chicks, and we can be on our own and so independent to where we don't need a man. But really, women need men. And I know a lot of men say that they do not need a woman, but men need women for that companionship. Men need women for nurturing and the support. And if a woman is not that, then of course he can live on his own. A man should have a queen and a real woman by his side. And that's what men are afraid of these days. Men are afraid to go out and actually date, because they don't know what they're really getting into. They're afraid that a woman will be one way in the beginning and then completely do a 180 the next minute, because she was doing everything she needed to do in order to get him, and now that she got him, she's comfortable and she can bring out the real her. Why not be the real you in the beginning, to even show this man who you really are and not make him waste his time? Men do not want to see a woman who is so beautiful that can be so evil in the end.
And that's partly, you know, you got to ask yourself, if you know the mythological stories, maybe if you made the right sacrifices, you wouldn't have so much trouble with women. It's a good question to ask yourself first. And I would also say, you know, if you're a woman who has trouble with men, or you're a man who has trouble with women, it's not the women and it's not the men, it's you. Because the women are telling you what's wrong with you, and the men are telling you what's wrong with you. And if you don't listen, then it's you. It's either you or all men. Well, that's easy, it's all men. Well, that's certainly how it's played out in the world right now. It's like, no, it's not all men. You can be by definition. And it's not all women, that's for sure.
If you're continuously going through the same problems in a relationship and it's different people, the common denominator has to be you. And that's when, you know, men can't blame it on other women and say it's all women just because they've had an issue with one person. Now, if it's multiple women, they can say the majority of women that they've dealt with, but then you have the women that blame it on all men. Well, he's no good, and I've had a problem with this one man and he was just horrible and all men are horrible. You cannot equate one man to all men. And women will do that, and they will go on a man strike because they've had one bad apple out of the whole tree. And then you have the men looking at her like, you know, she can be this wonderful woman, but they have to go through all these walls that the women have built up because she has already been hurt by this man that she was dealing with before. If she continues to go through the same thing with all these men, then obviously she has some soul searching to do and to dig deep to find the root of the problem, because obviously it's not all men. That's something that men and women both alike need to look from within. But especially women, because I see a lot of women that be like, you know what, I'm tired of dating these guys because they are manipulators, they are, you know, dogs. And how are you portraying yourself? Are you portraying yourself as a woman that, you know, can hold her ground, really have respect for herself? Because if you have respect for yourself as a woman, a man will not look at you as a type of thing that he can just run over like a doormat. A man will not look at you as such piece of meat. He will look at you with respect. He will see you as the woman that you are. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, like this video, go ahead and comment your opinions down below and hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.